Hey, what's up, GTFO? We're right here with you at episode number 6 with Kory, Vance, and Luna B. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great, Al.
Doing pretty
Yeah,
good.
It's good.
Doing pretty good.
It's kind of cooling down finally. It was.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was
A little bit.
I'm
It's
really
nice.
happy
Sun's
about that.
shining though.
yeah.
Yeah. So cool without the clouds.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys most grateful for?
Well, that's a great question. I'm always grateful for like I know it sounds like cliche, but I'm really grateful for waking up every day because it's like you never know when it's your time. So it's like I try to use my time wisely, and so I'm just grateful for every time that I got and any moment that I can get with other people.
Yeah.
Nice. No, that's awesome. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I'm extremely grateful for the Sacramento community, and specifically the poetry community, and then even in the community here at CSSB that are sort of Venn diagramming lately. But I'm someone. So I've lived in Sacramento for 6 years now, and that is a longer period of time than I've ever lived anywhere in my life since I was born, right? So I've always been shuffling back and forth between different cities and states, and never took the time to really develop a deep community, and I'm experiencing that for the first time. So I'm just super grateful that I get to have that, and thankful for the folks here in the poetry scene accepting me. So yeah.
Yeah, whenever I hear anyone talk, they always mention you, and they're just as grateful to have you in this community with us.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Of course. So, how do you guys define poetry?
I don't know. I mean, like,
That's a good answer.
I hear so many different ways people describe poetry and stuff, but it's like poetry is a form of art, and art is the eye of the beholder and all of that stuff. So it's like, really, it's really up to you. Like, for a moment, I was like, yeah, like anything can be poetry. Like, your hat can be poetry. Like, can be like you can make anything into a poem if you want. But it's like, I've been taking some classes at the Sacramento City College and stuff, and I got a really whole new perspective of like how poetry not should be, but it's like how it's like kind of structured, and my teacher is someone who's very passionate about poetry, so it's really nice to have that type of person teaching, because it's like I've taken other poetry classes, and it's all like there's this one that like always talked about his time in the 70s, and it's like, oh, okay, like, but like what are we doing here, like, and then there's like there's just like ego, but it's really nice to have someone who's passionate, and so it gives me a better perspective of like how poetry should be structured, and like different keys and different ways of what makes poetry actually poetry. So, poetry can be beheld in any way that you want, but,
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool, and on your vein of everybody describing it differently, right? I've reviewed, taken the time to review a lot of different people's definition of poetry, from well-known poets internationally to kind of local poets in this scene, and I find two things that always pop up. One is just the aesthetic quality of language, right? The words need to sound good at the end of the day for it to be poetry. So that's kind of the form, but also, and probably more critical, it has some sort of thing that's hard to define that connects people. So there's some sort of thing that's sort of emotionally flavored that brings people together in a way that kind of transcends or goes beyond just mere relatability, right? It's not enough just to be relatable, but it has to connect us with this sort of immenseness of life that we can't define. So I think that, whatever poetry is, it has something to do with words sounding good. It's the worst way to say that. And that interconnectedness between people in the immense community.
That's what I've been learning. Like, it's really supposed to be like how a poem touches you in a certain way. Like, you could be reading a poem about a hat and it's like this type of way, but when you read it, you're like, oh man, like I remembered like that hat, and then like it takes you back to a certain type of moment and stuff like that. So it's like poetry is a way for us to connect to ourselves too,
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely very big in the community, writing for yourself, and sometimes we forget that once we put that poem out into the road, it becomes bigger than us.
Right.
So, if I remember correctly, you said in your bio you started writing in high school. Do you mind telling us about that?
Yeah. Man, I kind of started writing poetry, like it was introduced to me in 8th grade and stuff, and it was like I was writing it and stuff, and like you would have to like share it to people, to the class and stuff like that. And then there was like a point where like people would be like, wait, shh, Luna's about to do it. And I'm like, oh wow, this is kind of weird. And then like one of my extra credits assignments was to go to Luna's Cafe at the time and to like do it in front of adults. And I was this 13 and my poem was called like I'm 13 and emotional girl. And I read it into the front of this whole crowd of poets and stuff, just like being like, man, like I'm stage fright to the max, and just looking at my poem the whole time, stammering and stuff. But then there's poets coming up to me like, man, you really got it. And it's like, wow, I didn't like, and that was like the first time where it was like I actually like have something that I'm like good at, I guess. And so then I was homeschooled for my high school experience. So I'm grateful to have been a part of 916 Inc. So shout out to them. They're really supportive in the creativity for the youth and like how we express ourselves and how to like get us to be more creative. And I was like a mentor. I really loved like helping other kids, like the kids in my class, to like kind of like progress, like be proud of what they do, because it's like when you find that pride, or like, you know, find that thing that makes you feel good, that makes you feel proud, that makes you feel like I can do this inside, nothing can take that away from you. So it's like poetry is also a part of a power that I found in high school, you know. And then during the whole like pandemic and stuff like that, like I was in like this I was in college, and that was a trip. It was a trip because it's like when it's like other people's opinions and other people's like egos or something, like I don't know exactly how to put it, but when you're dealing with other people and you're in a group and there's other people with different opinions, and it's like, but this is actually a good poem, and then there's someone saying, oh, this is trash, oh, this is trash, oh, this is like, that's like so draining. It was like so like spirit breaking. I couldn't do it. I dropped out of that class. Like, you know, so yeah, that poetry has been like a really big thing for me growing up. I've been really involved with it. I've had like 2 or 3 books that were published and stuff, and it has like some of my poems in them and stuff. Like it was a whole class effort and stuff, and that was really cool. Like that's a cool thing. I can say I'm a published author, like a published poet and stuff like that. I don't say it, but I can say that.
Yeah.
Put it on a t-shirt. Yeah.
What about you, Kory?
Yeah, I similarly, it's poetry's been an important part of my life for a long time. I started writing poetry in the 6th grade. So we had a teacher at my school in little rural Missouri that was very passionate about teaching this poetry unit to 6th graders. It was a big deal every year, and took that class. And well, of course, it was 6th grade. You take every class, but they, she introduced us to writing poetry, reading poetry, writing poetry, and she did it in a very fun way, right? She didn't do it in the kind of the traditional, here's the, Frost poem, let's analyze it 47 ways.
Oh, yeah.
So, but she did it in a very fun way, and we all wrote poetry, and then, had a big event with parents at the end of the year. That's when I started. I don't know how old 6th graders are, but I don't have kids or anything. But however old you are in 6th grade, that's when I started. And when I was younger, I was raised very, very religious. So most of my poetry was religious poetry. I also wrote a poem about steroids and baseball, which apparently I was very passionate about at the time. I couldn't care less now, but so that was my subject matter. And then, I just got more and more engrossed in it. So wrote poetry through high school and college. At some point in college, I started performing. I had a whole spoken word era before I moved to Sacramento. And then I got immersed in this community and started pursuing poetry in a little bit, more professionally, publishing, selling books, and things like that. So that's where we're at.
Nice. Speaking of, you got that book right there.
Yeah. Poems about aliens.
Been reading here and there. It's pretty good.
Thank you. I worked hard on it.
So you're kind of talking about it earlier, Leonard, about how poetry and art in general is kind of in the eye of the beholder. So what role does poetry play in your guys' lives?
I've been thinking about that question, and I can't really say. Like, honestly, it's like a calling, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. It's like, I just love writing, and I love writing out how I feel and how I perceive things. And I don't know. That's what poetry means to me. It's just writing out what I feel and how I perceive the world, and it's kind of like my diary, and I love oversharing. So I'm oversharing my life. I overshare my thoughts. That's how I do it, I guess. That's what poetry means to me.
There you go. Yeah, I think, similarly for me, I mean, first and foremost, poetry connects me to my most meaningful community that, I talked about already, but, and that's enough in and of itself. But also, I think more, internally, it helps me, as bizarre as the topics are that I write about, it helps me really narrow and interpret my emotions and be a little more self-aware, I think, which that's been very important in my life as I've developed and navigated. And then also, I think for other ambitions I have, because I pursue other kinds of writing as well. I pursue fiction and board game stuff, and so I believe that poetry is the foundation of most art forms, if not all art forms. I think other art forms are poetry plus something else, like I like music, poetry plus music, or songs, poetry plus music. Rhythm and poetry. I think novels are poetry plus narrative. I think comedy is poetry plus, humor. So I think that it's primed me to be a more confident, hardworking and directed artist in other areas. But even if I'm, or being a poet at the core, I think it plays a role in everything I do. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to take that away.
Oh.
That was a lot. You guys been saying a lot of people's stuff. Guess I would just go on that and ask, you guys ever try to challenge yourselves and choose a theme or topic to write about? I mean, obviously you got the whole
I challenged myself in high school to, like, because I was kind of known as like this my poems were really dark back then. I was like a horror story poeter or whatever. And I actually wrote like a poem that's a story, like, and it's all in rhyme, it's all perfect flow. It's very long, and it's my Halloween poem that I like to share. It's very long, that's all I gotta say, but it's a whole story. And like, I really challenged myself. I was like, I wonder if I could do this. And I could. And yeah, like, challenging yourself it's really fun, because it's like you really see that you can actually do things that you didn't think that you're like, oh, I also, like, there was this Valentine's, I used to dabble in fan fiction and stuff like that. And so there's, like, I wanted to do, like, this Valentine's Day special, and then I wrote, like over 50,000 words in a month, and right before Valentine's Day was, like, it's still one of my greatest accomplishments in my opinion. I'm like, I did that shit. Like, people don't understand, but I did that shit,
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, those word count goals are underrated. Yeah. Remind me of the question. I got lost.
Just, do you like use themes or topics to challenge yourself?
Yeah, I do. That's pretty much all I do now with poetry. I think that my style is kind of unique, where I put a lot of different elements together and figure out a way of making them work. So I think that's kind of an advantage I developed to choosing themes. But I did the poems about aliens, all alien themed poetry. I'm writing a book right now called Animals Drinking Beer. All poems about a different animal drinking beer, and but it's great. It also, like, it's wild, because people think, people find out I'm a poet or whatever, because I write in public all the time, and they ask, oh, what are you writing about? Especially if it's like a girl who's interested. Then I'm like, well, this one's called Raccoon Drinking Beer. It's kind of about death. It's not, I can't write, they can't say I'm writing a love poem, or because I don't write those. But so all the poetry I write right now is topic themed, and I really enjoy it. Yeah.
So I kind of want to just go off what you said about writing in the public. Not so much about that, but you guys have a preferred way of writing? I know a lot of people just use their laptops or phone app, or you guys like prefer the pen and pad?
I'm an analog girl trapped in a digital world, so I'm always rolling with my notebook. I can use both, though. Like, I have a really strange writing process where I will, like, start writing in my book, and then I'll not have my book available, maybe, and then I'll open my phone notes, and then I'll have to connect the dots, and then I connect the dots, and then I don't know which way it will end, but the finishing product will either be on my phone or it will be on my books, and then I'll have to remember which one is the right one. So that's what my process is.
That's good. Mine's chaos. My early process is chaos. I'll have poetry on sometimes paper, sometimes notebooks, sometimes the margins of, like, my old W9s, napkins. I fill bags, and then I have to sort it out. Eventually I get it onto the computer, though, and I put it in a Word document or a Google Doc, and eventually I get to the point where I print them out and do the revision. But it's a chaotic method through the beginning. But poetry, I generally handwrite in the early stages.
I want to add on because you said the napkin, and that
Yeah.
I was working a job and stuff like that, and I was working at a ice cream shop, creamery, and like I was bored. Like there was some days where it was dead. There was no one inside. It was only me, and I still have all the napkins that I would be writing poetry on. I have the brown ones, and then I have some white ones. It was bad. I still have those napkins, and they're all like falling apart. They're all tearing. Can't see the words still. Like the ink is all smeared, but I know in my heart what they are.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have some of those from, like, when I was in my early 20s. I remember I lived in a house in Tennessee we were stacked on top of each other. It was like, I paid like $200 in rent, but I had, just people everywhere. But in my room, I had like just all kinds of stuff stuck up on the walls, and I was kind of a drinker back then, so there were empty like bottles and cans everywhere, and people would come over and they'd be like, "What's going on?" It's serial killer chaos.
I feel that.
So, but I still have those in a sandwich bag, or a couple. So
I think I
go
have
through
some of
now and
mine.
again.
Yeah, that's funny. I think I have some stashed away in a bag. Actually, I have them stashed away everywhere. They're all over my room. I have like 3 different places to look where I'm like, I know that line. I know I put it on a napkin.
Yeah.
Is it on my corkboard? Is it in this binder? Is it in this book?
Yep.
Nope. Oh, let me look at my other thing. So yeah.
Hey, I love it.
Oh yeah, you guys got me thinking about a playwright. His name's Augustus Wilson. He used to go to bars all the time and write on napkins, and that's how all of his plays started coming out.
Yeah. It's a good way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like it's a good technique to be like, if you don't like have anything available, like you got to use what you have available to get it out, like or you're gonna forget. Like for someone like me, I'm gonna forget it. Like I knew I had a fire line in my head and I didn't write it down and it's gone. So yeah, you got to use your resources for whatever you can.
For sure.
And I want to continue with like the whole writing process thing. How often you guys do the revisions?
Oh man, sometimes I'll like write it like so I'll write it and stuff like that, and it takes me a while to actually revise it because I don't know, I feel like I'm the type of writer to look at things and be like, oh yeah, this is perfect, but then like after a few days or a few months or whatever, I'll look at it again and be like, I feel like I need to add something, or I feel like something's off, like, or there'll be some poems where I'll feel like there's something off already, and then I'll like be working on it for a few days and stuff like that. But it's hard. It's sometimes hard because you have to fight with yourself to be like, okay, executive decision time. Do I want to take this line out? This is a line I vibe with every single line in this, but I feel like something needs to go. I feel like I need to add something, and that's going to mess up the whole flow. So, yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes you write lines that belong in other poems. And
exactly. Yep. It's like, it's a wonderland. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, no, I'm a heavy revisionist on my poetry. I've gotten a little bit more efficient in the last few years, but I'll get the poem to its first full form. I'll do something similar. I don't revise it right away. I let it breathe for a little bit. But I mean, sometimes it gets ridiculous, but each poem, and my poetry's a little bit longer, but each poem will go through, low end 25 drafts, and then they can be in excess of 100 drafts if like there's something I'm having trouble with. I have one that I did that I remember I was working on for like 7 years that just wasn't ready until it was ready. So
no, I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel that.
But you can work on a bunch at a time, so it's not like I wrote one poem in 7 years. But I generally work on a set of 5 to 15 poems at a time, probably. So
Nice. So, like, you guys go to open mics, obviously, but is there any ones you frequent most? Obviously, you host the Tuesday night series.
yeah, I host the Tuesday the Poets Open Mic at CSSP, where we're at now. That's been really great. We're about to hit week 36, I think, consecutive. We started in February. So of course I'm here every week, Tuesdays 7 to 9, and I haven't been making it to as many of the others as I used to. I still try to get out to a lot of them, at least monthly, but I'll go to the Sac Poetry Center when I can. They have the Monday open mic, or sometimes they have Saturday events. I'll go to the Silver Lining has a general open mic on Wednesdays called The Bright Side. Self-Design Studios now, Self-Design Art Studio on Wednesdays will have a wine tasting and poetry showcase event. Well, that's on an open mic, so forget that one. But it's a good event.
Oh, that's really
and then I hit tea and poetry when I can. That's a roughly monthly event that goes to different venues. So those are, I feel like I'm leaving something out, but I think those are the main ones. Yeah.
Honestly, I am like a homebody, so I'm like, I pick and choose where I go. I love coming here. It's on the days that I have my poetry class, and I have no excuse to not come. Like, I really don't. Like, I have no excuse, but it's my energy levels are like, so that's my excuse, but I have no excuse. Anyways, and I'm kind of started out at Golden Bear, mostly because my brother, shout out to Soli Bowl, is a very notable voice out in the music community, and he was like, oh yeah, it's open mic and da 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 da, and I really want you to come out and stuff like that. Like, you fucking got it. Like, I think the first time I went to Golden Bear was an open mic night, and he was all like, hey, sign up, Luna. And I'm like, okay, I have stuff, and I've done open mics, or I've done presenting my poems on in front of people and stuff like that. So I'm no stranger to that. It's still, I don't know about you, but I still get very nervous public speaking. So it's a matter of how I'm if I want to actually go out and go up on stage and present myself. But to do doing that is really different from being here and being amongst poets and people that will actually give you the space to present yourself, because you're at a bar and there's a bunch of drunk people and all they want to do is drink and talk and hit on each other. And so I was legit the only poet, at the time I was the only poet doing poetry at Golden Bear, and I fucking I don't know, I just had to own the room. I was you have to demand to be heard when you're in those types of spaces, because if you really want to do this, you got to do it, and you got to. And so I guess I don't know, but I really like doing it there just to get me out of that comfort zone, because like I said, I'm a homebody. I like to be by myself a lot. And so doing that kind of stuff really helps me get myself out there, and I have something to say and I want to say something, and I know you guys are drunk, but because at the end of it, there are people who are drunk or not drunk come up to me and be like, man, I really liked what you're saying. I really liked what you're saying. What's your Instagram? What's your da-da-da-da and stuff. So
yeah, no, that's really cool. I did some similar things, especially in my early and mid 20s, where, and I didn't live in areas at that time where there was such a strong poetry community. So a lot of the places I went were very similar. And you're right, you have to learn how to command the attention of the room. Sometimes people who don't want anybody on stage. And I think especially for performers, that's a really valuable skill to learn, and there's only one environment to do it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
So speaking about reading poetry, might be a good time. You guys are down to share a poem right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Who wants to go first?
All right, I guess I'll go first. Speaking of revisions, this is a poem that I wrote recently, so this is like my new poem.
All right.
And I need to revise it by Tuesday. So, and I know you don't do love poems, but I do.
Oh no.
And actually, I don't. This is like
someone has to.
this is actually kind of like a heartbreak poem, because I'm like a hopeless romantic. I fall in love too easily, so I gotta write about that. It's called "Got Me Like These Lowrider Oldies." I've been hypnotized by that feeling, those somebody please blues that pulls my thoughts into disarray, and feeling like slow tunes on dry Sunday nights. They say it's a thin line between love and hate, and I can finally understand the saying, because I adore who he is, but hate how he operates. I haven't got the energy to rationalize why the pillows on my bed brings me the same warmth as the time we spent, to unconsciously chain smoking, deflecting this gut-wrenching feeling of resistance. There's no, you really got a hold on me. No late night confessing a feeling. All I receive are crickets. So in this moment, I'm dancing between visualizing and fantasizing of everything we could possibly be. Got my fingers breaking up his favorite strain, replacing the twitching urge to send messages, 'cause I'm singing along with I only have eyes for you, knowing full well others have eyes for him too. Tell it like it is. I'm like the heartbroken lowrider oldies that I recommend.
Nice.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
I think that's for class.
What's that?
Well, that's for class.
Yeah, that's for class.
Oh, I think you're gonna get a good grade.
No.
Hey.
Thank you. My teacher commented on it. He was like, "It's practically publishable." I was like, "That's like a huge ego boost to me." I'm like, oh, I'm doing something right.
Nice.
But he's like, it would be nice to like know who he is and stuff like that. I'm like, how do you add that? Like, so I'm kind of asking for advice, but not really.
I don't know. I don't think it's that important. I mean, you could put, instead of who he is, just some more maybe sensory details, like things like hair color, how he dresses, that kind of thing. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Some of my poetry that I write about love interests, I don't write love poems, but I'll write about love-ish. Sometimes they're just conglomerates of like 4 different people. So
that's kind of how I was feeling when I was writing this, because it's not really about anyone specific.
Yeah.
It's kind of like just about my luck with dating, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know anymore. I'm just here,
Oh, I feel that. I think most poets feel that. All right, so I'll share something from Poems About Aliens. So fun little thing about this that I didn't anticipate when I wrote this book. So first, it came out right around the time the whole like alien thing in Mexico was happening. I don't even really remember what it was. I didn't pay that close attention. But I get a lot of people coming up to me and asking weird, like they want to give me their theories. I don't care about your theories. But I made up all the aliens in this book. It's all fiction. But also sometimes I get people who ask me, "Hey, have you been abducted by it?" And then I tell them no, and sometimes they don't believe me. So anyway, if you want to write a book about aliens, just know there are consequences you might not anticipate. But this poem's called Abducted, and it goes like this. I was told, this feels good, but I don't love you. When I was abducted, the aliens asked me, chomping their words through heavy lips, if that's what it means to be human. And I said yes a lot of the time. See, this is what our world is. It's black light soaking into scars, ghosts of barbed wire and asphalt. Hearing the metallic shimmer of saws and violins. Floating flower petals in sticky liquid. Dust drifting in puppet strings of sunlight that dangle through sheer curtains in a dim room where the tables are covered in lace. Smelling gasoline in a rose bush. A worm is afraid of the dark and dries in the sun. This is our world. Scraping fat and meat off of animal skin, not knowing if the ones you will keep warm with your pelts would hold your tired forearms otherwise. This is our world. When I used to sleep outside, trembling in my hammock, the winter's chill lingered, unwelcome, into the spring midnight. A man born of dirt and black walnuts, I was hidden in the woods, my motorcycle hidden nearby. There were nightmares before I had seen a monster. Dead coyotes animating and taking from my flesh. In the nightmares, their eyes would glow like flashlights. But there were no lights in the abduction. Only warmth. An instant change of there to here. Dark to void. Alone to lonely. Fear to helpless. But their hands were warm, taking my clothes that were soaked in forest dew and wrapping me in a quilt, soft as breath. They were only curious. I told the aliens that, on our planet, from the subject's perspective, there is no meaningful difference between curiosity and sadism. They could not understand but wanted to. I said to the aliens, I only know what I've been told. I was told by a pastor that rap is sin. I was told by a teacher that history is war. I was told by a woman that blowing into a vagina will cause death by aneurysm. I was told by the government that I'm safe from missiles. I was told by my mother that I hated math. I was told by my grandfather that we are free. I was told by a hippie to be gentle with myself. I was told by a lover nothing, just silence. But of these things, what do you feel? The aliens want to know. I said I feel like wedging myself between bodies and cushions when the wind is cold, threatening rain. That's it.
Damn, that was pretty good. I could visualize that very well.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's always one of my favorites, especially when you get to the line about police. So you just gets everyone dying.
Oh, yeah. I do. So, before the book came out, I was booked to do a Sacramento Poetry Center event, and it was in a house in the Fab 40s, a big house. Everything was the paintings on the wall more expensive than anything I've ever bought or owned in my life, and there was one of the guests was a very old woman. That's not the poetic way to say that. A very experienced, lively. But so she couldn't sit on any of the soft furniture in the giant living room because she wouldn't been able to get up. So she had to sit in a hard chair. So they brought a hard chair and they put from me to you, Al. She was right there. And when I got to that line in the poem, because that's what I chose to do, I thought she was going to die first. She was like, ah! But all is good. I haven't heard any bad news, and it was a couple years ago, so I think we're okay.
Yeah.
But know your audience.
So, what's one thing you guys, or what's something you want people to know about the open mics in Sacramento?
So I can say, this relates to what you were saying. One thing that I think I'd like more people to know and think about is that there are different kinds of open mics for different purposes. So, like what we do at the Poets Open Mic here at CSSB, it's a very specific purpose. We create an environment that's very low pressure, very casual, and the intent is that everyone can come, whether you're an extremely seasoned poet or you're coming out for the very first time to share poetry. Maybe you're not even sure what you wrote is a poem, but you feel like you want to express it, right? This is the environment for you. No pressure, no judgment, low key energy, right? We don't have a sign up sheet. We just turn the mic on and we let the room go. And that's important, right? That's important to the community. What's also important to the community, like or the ecosystem, like you were saying, are open mics and bars where you have to command the attention if you want to be a good performer. It's also important to have rooms that are full of poets, but instead of supporting you by having this sort of open, no pressure environment like we do, they support you in a different way by being very honest with you where you are. Is your writing where it needs to be? Are you performing well? Are you prepared, right? So I think just recognize that whatever space you're walking into, maybe you're used to one kind of open mic, and you go to another and you think, oh, this is a bad open mic because it's not what I'm used to. Just recognize that there are different purposes for different mics, and which ones you go to should be dependent on your goals as an artist. So if your goal is to be the best writer and performer you can be, you should probably go to all of them. If your goal isn't that and it's to really participate in the community, just kind of recognize where you're at and what you're trying to do. So
those are, I 100% agree with you on that one. Like, I feel like I don't have anything else to add, but I do want to just say, like, if you want to do open mics, and if like you said, if you're new to poetry and stuff like that, just like don't be afraid, and don't think that, listen, this is some great advice I want to say, is that everything that poets, like, the famous poets that they all wrote trash. Someone thinks that those poets are trash. Someone out there. So it's like, are you going to let people's opinions affect how you want to do things and how you want to present yourself to the world? So don't be afraid of judgment in that sense, because you can also use that judgment to like fuel you. You can use that judgment to kind of like, oh, so they didn't like that, let me do more, or something like that, but yeah, like, don't be afraid, and everyone's art is trash in someone's eyes. So
yeah, no, that's true. That's good advice. Yeah.
I think it was Andrew who, when he was here, he said, or maybe it wasn't when he was here, but I remember he saying, like, you can be a trash poet, but if you keep coming out and keep working on it, people are going to respect you and give you the props just for coming out.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll get better.
Exactly.
Exactly.
There's only, you can only grow from what you do too. Like, unless you're like purposely just trying to like be like not try. But like, that's different. Like, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Yeah. There's no.
And it takes years to get good, right? Like,
it's
not
like,
not
honestly, like we say, like I've been saying, the art is the eye of the beholder. So it's like, to be honest, it's like, do you think your stuff is good? Do you think you're good? Like, if you don't think you're good, then it's like, I don't know what else to say, but like, what are you doing? But if you think that your stuff is good, then share it. There's someone who's going to, I will, like, let you know, I will appreciate whatever you do, but there's people who are going to appreciate what you do out there. So yeah, don't be afraid.
So what do you guys wish people knew about Sacramento?
It's not as lame as everyone thinks it is. I mean, when you put yourself in certain corners, it is. But, I don't know. Like, you can make anything lame, so maybe don't be lame. I don't know.
I like that. I like that. Don't be. Yeah, maybe it's, maybe it's like that. Someone was talking about that Adam Sandler SNL skit about, a sketch of where he is being like selling a tourism package. He's like, hey, if you're sad where you are, you won't be happy in Italy. You'll still be sad because you're still you.
Exactly.
And so maybe it's the same thing. Like, maybe you're just like, but So this is kind of a pet peeve of mine. And I think because I've lived so many different kinds of places, and people always they say, oh, there's nothing to do in Sacramento. It's like bullshit. I've lived in places that has one post office, no restaurants, and a gas station that's sometimes out of gas. Like you want to go somewhere where there's nothing to do, I can point you to some places on a map. And I think most of the time what people mean when they say that, they're talking about nightlife generally, right? They're talking about clubs.
But there is a lot of things to do.
There are, and I think it depends on what, because there are what 10 or 12 cities that have these in the U.S. that have these thriving nightlife scenes. If you're the kind of you want to be in a club 5-6 nights a week and you want variety, sure, I get it, but maybe go to like the 10 places you can do that. But for Sacramento, I mean, there's something for everybody. I mean, if you're in the arts, for sure, poetry, strong scene, music, strong scene, all genres, visual arts communities, hip hop. There are all these things. In fitness, there's strongman, there's CrossFit, there's rock climbing.
There's a really nice skater community too.
Skater community,
yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm totally hearing what you're saying.
Yeah, aerialism, chair dancing. There's knitting circles.
Yeah.
There's
the environmentalists, or like for real. There's people around here that are pretty like you said. There's stuff to do here. You just gotta find it.
Yeah, and it's not even that hard to find. It's a little Google search. You just have to go outside and say hi to somebody.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do want to say it's it is kind of hard to find things, because I feel like people don't really the promoting is a huge thing, and
fair.
I think that's something that maybe Sacramento needs to learn a little bit better. I don't know, but it's you got to promote 2 or 3 months in advance for people to know, because people are it's I mean, I don't know if it's scientifically proven, but it's kind of noticeable. We have really small attention spans, and so if we know that there's going to be an event, if you're consecutively doing it and stuff, you're like, oh, you know what's going on this month? Oh yeah, that's right. This thing's going on. So it's I feel like we just need to promoter stuff. Don't be afraid to bug people. I feel like you're bugging people, because the more you feel like you're bugging people, the more people are going to know about the stuff that you're doing. Right. So
no, that's fair. That's a good critique. Yeah.
But yeah, and it's no shade to anyone, but there's a lot of events for poetry wise where I'm finding out the day after that happens, and I'm all oh, are you serious? That happened yesterday. I wasn't doing anything.
Right.
So I feel so bad. I'm not part of that, because I'm
right.
And also I'm not even updated on that kind of stuff too. I don't, is there a calendar?
Sac Poet Society is starting. I don't. GTFO might be too, but I know Sac Poet Society on their Instagram, they've started posting what what's happening this week, except they never post the Poets Open Mic. But every Tuesday. But no, they're doing that. I've seen some other people do that. But I don't know. Is GTFO doing anything?
Because I'm supposed to be running Instagram, I don't do it as often as I should be.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And I said, there's no shade. It's just, it's some creative criticism, and we all take creative criticism as it is. And it's just, if we want to let people know what we're doing, we got to really be loud about it.
Yeah. We'll give you a flyer for your poetry class.
Thank you.
We don't have flyers, but we can figure it out.
I'm actually trying to start a writing workshop.
Okay.
It's not set in stone yet, but I So if you guys do need help with writing,
all right, nice.
So you're kind of talking about the strong man. I know you go to school. I imagine you guys both have jobs, and so how do you guys find balance between all that in your writing?
Poorly.
Yeah.
It's tough. Yeah, I have a full-time job. I train for and compete in strongman, and then I treat writing as a full-time job as well. So, it's just a haze. I'm trying to do better. I really, for me, the best way I can find balance is to wake up early and get the day started right. And I'm not doing a great job of that because I don't fall asleep easily.
No.
And yeah, so if I can get up a couple hours, 2-3 hours before work, get some stuff done, do a little bit of writing, do a little bit of reading, and that kind of thing, then I feel really good. When I start waking up, 10 minutes before work, then it's not great. But that's my goal of balance. It's not being achieved, but that's my goal.
Yeah, mine is a little bit, I don't know how I usually create like at night, at the dead of night. I'm always up at night. That's like when I create. So I'm either creating like some fiction and stuff like that. I'm doing like research, which is AKA watching movies and like, because I'm a visual learner, so I really do learn from like my environments and what I like take in and stuff like that. So like I'm really like kind of digesting what goes on in the world and like what goes on in like how people perceive things and and that's how I really like get my like, and I sit on that, like, I brumate. I think that's how the word is, brumate.
Ruminate,
whatever. It's one of those words. And I'll like, and then that's when I will like start getting those juices. Like I will start having those fire lines that I gotta get out and stuff like that. And and like you have to like have your responsibilities you got to take care of and all that stuff. And I have pets, like a lot of pets, and for whatever reason, like whenever they know when you're like trying to be focused on something, so they like to just fucking take my attention when I want to be focused on something. So that's an obstacle that I have to deal with. And yeah, it's I try to do it as much. Oh, and I'm like very like tired recently. Like every free chance I can get, I'm like taking a nap or like mentally like relaxing, because it's like too much for my head right now. So it's like that's the kind of things that are like I'm out of whack with, or like trying to balance is like my energy levels and my creativity levels at the same time.
Yeah. Should have had this one already.
Okay.
So, I know we talked about a lot how you're always trying to get just your short stories and all that published, but do you guys say, do you have any like other goals as artists or writers for the future?
You said goals?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess practically my goal is to make a little bit more money off of writing every year, and kind of shift that deeper into my sort of professional profile. But specifically, I want to sell more of this book. I want to put out more books in poetry. I'm seeking representation for a novel right now, and then I'm starting to shove out some short stories in some of the more notable magazines for my genre.
That's pretty cool.
So I'm early on. I've only been focusing on fiction for about a year and a half, so I recognize how early I am in that, but giving it a good goal. But yeah, no, I want to be a working writer, and I think, I don't know how long it'll take me to get there, but I think I'll find some level of success as long as I keep at it the way I am now. So yeah.
No, I feel like I'm on kind of the same level in a different way. I'm starting to do all of that. Like I'm like getting myself into the mindset of like having my writing and my art be what I want to sustain myself for my future, because it's like it's hard to find like jobs nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I'm there right now. Like it's like I've stopped because of like how much flack I've been getting. Like I've just been getting like all like the emails back like, oh sorry. Like, oh fuck. So you know, how am I gonna sustain myself? I have art. I can create, and that's like where I'm at right now. Like so I'm trying to start all that. I'm like I've always been a passionate like fiction writer. I like action and romance and all that stuff. Nice. So I'm working on that. It's hard though, because it's like the whole writing process is about revision, and that's what I'm starting to learn too. It's like, crap. Oh, but I thought this was already finished. Nope, you gotta rewrite it all. But yeah, so that's what my goal is, to like get into that mindset and actually like not because I'm already serious about it, but it's like actually like putting my foot down and like creating schedules and creating all that like technical stuff that I need to get down. Right. You know,
if you ever want to trade manuscripts for test reading, let me know. I'm always looking for more people.
Sweet.
So,
yeah. I love reading. I'm an avid reader.
Nice.
So.
Nice.
So you got a little bit more time if you guys are down to read one more poem.
One more poem.
You guys, you don't have to.
Oh. Let's see. What do I mean, I've got more. I don't know. Do you have any requests? You've heard a lot of my work.
The only one I really say, I don't know if you'd have it on you, is that cowpurse poem you were talking about at the beginning of the year.
With the what?
The cowpurse poem you were talking about at the beginning of the year about the genetically modified babies.
Oh, could you grab my backpack? Or there's a black folder in the furthest back zipper. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Okay. It's in here somewhere. All right. All right. Yeah, I can do this. This is, let me make sure it's all here. All right, it's all here. This is another speculative poem. This is called The First Person to Never Die. And it's separated into 3 parts: the things I forgot, things I feel, and things I want. Things I forgot. 1, I don't remember my friends who died. And so I am not myself, but something else, created by a motherboard and injections and a lump of somebody's flesh. 2, I don't remember tragedies. English words for them include plague, sex trafficking, mass shootings, slavery, rape, genocide. There are many more. I read about them. I still call it reading, even though there is no paper, there are no screens. But cannot remember if I was a victim, perpetrator, or bystander. 3, why? Was I excited to be immortal? 4, sight. If I was younger than 1,000, I would say I went blind. But it's more that the colors are different, like textures, no longer trapped in shapes. 5, I don't remember my mother. What else is there to say? Things I feel. I feel like life is important. Wearing infinity like a blanket, it shouldn't matter whether people used to die at 4 years or 80. So small a difference. But they were stories, starting and finishing like a glass. Their boundaries let them fill to the brim. 2, I don't feel like I can say we. The others were not born from humans. They grew sucking milk from out of free-floating stem cell udders. Milk and therapy, a procedure called How to Cope with Being a God. A generation of something that can't be called human. Their stomachs reject my wisdom. They've never churned meat before. 3, I don't feel born again, and I don't feel born a first time. I'm not on my birth planet, and I don't think you could say I'm in my birth body. It's so full of synthetic chemicals, so full of chips. My heart is just another engine. My brain is just another country song. Things I want. I want eyes for rainbows and nostrils for bread and spearmint. The ship is angry at my battle cry. I want to remember if I was a mother or father and know my son was a good man, my daughter a king. The lights on the ship are blinking. My shipmates say, "We're taking you to see it. Will it ever be enough?" I want to be a baby in anyone's arms. I want to walk down an aisle at anyone's wedding. I want wet newspaper ink on my fingertips, coffee steam to burn my throat, butter on my tongue, to feel the needle hairs of pigs brushing my palm. I want to sit on a train, to hold my bladder on the highway, stub my toe in a potato sack race. I want to laugh, to break my arm, watch a bad movie with obnoxious friends, lose everything in a house fire and be terrified. The ship is shaking. Warning sirens drown my microphones. I won't call them ears. I want to cry, to be a pallbearer, to hold any mortal's hand. Emotional distress flashes on the walls in a code my eyes can interpret. They are still technically my eyes. You're just making it take longer, somebody says. The ship will stop if you don't calm down. And I want to walk barefoot through every kind of flower that ever evolved. Another comes in the room. We're here. Look out the window. I know we are here, but I do not want to calm down. Outside is my home where I was supposed to die. I do not want to die. I want to be the white dwarf, the rock, the ice. Thank you. Hey.
That was really good.
Yeah.
I like
Thank
that
you.
a lot.
I appreciate that.
Oh man, I don't know what I want to share. Is it alright if I share my long Halloween poem?
Yeah. So
Okay.
go for it.
Alright, this is called House on the Hill. I think I was about 16 or 17 when I wrote this. So, I hope you guys enjoy it. Come, sister, let's go play in the house on the hill today. But brother, it's not safe. We can't go to such a place. Sister, sister, it's all right. If there's danger, I will fight. Then lead the way, brother, if you will, to the abandoned house on the hill. The siblings walked hand in hand from their little house to steep land. They looked at the rickety home that frightened the siblings to the bone. The brave brother inched towards the door, leaving the frightened girl to whimper more. The children were too blind to see that a figure was looking upon thee. There hasn't been a visitor in a very long time, not after that terrible crime. The figure smiled with glee to know that its sinister ways can be freed. It lit a candle that illuminated light, and it heard the girl's gasp of fright. It giggled in a sickly way. It was very much time to play. Sister, sister, come right in. Let's play a game to see who shall win. But brother dear, we aren't alone. Candlelight upstairs has been shown. Your mind is playing tricks on you. There's not a single soul in view. Then go upon the second floor and see what awaits behind the door. Come with me if you please, so I can put your mind at ease. They hesitantly climbed the stairs, their minds filled with such despair. They finally arrived upon the second story. The brother inched away, and the girl filled with worry. The brother hand on the knob, and his heart started to quickly throb. He stayed there for a moment, and then he quickly opened it. Everything was untouched and dusty. The room was decayed and very musty. I told you not to fear, as this room has not been touched for years. I would like to start a game, as victory I would claim. As he turned, the door slammed shut. A feeling of fear traveled in his gut. They stared at each other for a while, the figure and the boy, with a sickly sweet smile. The girl banged on the door with all her might, hoping her brother was all right. She suddenly heard his muffled wails and yells. Her fear burst out, and her skin turned pale. She ran down the stairs, about to go out the door. Something tripped her, and she fell on the floor. Screams couldn't be heard from inside the house, and then it went silent as a mouse. From that day on, the siblings have not been found. They disappeared without a sound. So heed my warning, if you will, to never go in the house on the hill.
Hey.
That was sick.
Thank you. Happy Halloween, you guys.
Yeah. You should illustrate that, or
I-
find someone to illustrate.
Yeah, I want to find someone to illustrate it. I want to like make it into like a little pocketbook.
That'd be
That's
sick.
cool. Yeah.
So I say that's about our show, but you guys want to tell anyone where to find you guys?
You can find me on Instagram at it's luna.b.916 or _916.
Hey, I'm with you. I've got underscores too. So you can find me on Instagram at strength and poetry, strength_and_poetry. I don't know why I put the underscores in. It wasn't necessary. It makes everything more complicated, but it's already on all of my stuff. And then you can also go to my website, koryvance.com, KORYVANCE.com. Don't go to the one spelled with a C, because that man is a wealth management consultant. So we're extremely different people. But yeah, koryvance.com, Strength of Poetry on Instagram, and or TikTok. That, you know, I've got like 80 followers there.
I don't have
So.
a TikTok. You can also follow me on Instagram at Luna B Does Poetry. I don't really post that much, but at the like beginning, end of the year, I'm gonna like kind of like transfer it. So my Luna B is like my private, and then the poetry can be
Gotcha.
like my poetry, and so
Yeah.
I can
Oh,
I
that's
don't
cool.
have to like you know, live the same life.
That's cool. Yeah. You can also catch me at the Poets Open Mic at CSSB 16th and X every Tuesday night, 7 to 9. I'll also be at the GTFO book journal release.
Oh
that
yeah, when's
I'm
that?
in.
That's October 25th of, I want to say it's this Poetry Week, that Friday.
I gotta attend that.
Yeah.
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 I gotta make sure I'm there.
Right.
Support.
Yeah. I have a poem in that journal, so you all should buy that too.
Yeah.
Holidays are coming up. You buy give somebody a combo pack, Poems About Aliens, GTFO journal.
Yeah, thank you everyone. They're Luna's Bees, I also in that as well.
Oh,
First-
I am? Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Hey.
Woo! I'm sorry. I am like so terrible at like replying and receiving emails, so that's a character fault.
We're not very good at replying to the emails.
I
ourselves.
really am not. So
We have October 25th. I want to say 8 p.m. I got to look at the flyer again, even though I'm the one who made it.
Hey.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. Shout out to Eli. Shout out to CSB, Joss, Big Mike, Jay, everyone here.